Welcome to Poll Everywhere. This tool can be used in the classroom for students to text in responses to a poll. So you can have multiple choice questions and also more open questions where students can type in their responses. So although it does have this button on the front page of create your first poll, no sign up required, it's actually far better to create a login because then you can go back in and edit your poll and deal with it far easier later. So if you're opening an account for the first time, obviously click on sign up on that page. I'm just going to log into my account here. So the reason you have a login is obviously so that you can go back in, edit polls, restart polls, change dates on polls, change the questions, etc. So as you can see here, I've got all the polls that I've created in the past and have set up for my students and others. Okay, so this one, for instance, I did with an AS class, and I wanted them to share their most common errors that they were making with their writing. So if I click on it now, I can see the responses that were created at the time. Okay, so as you can see, they've left responses of things that they were forgetting to do. Okay, obviously you can see from these couple of responses that some of them have taken advantage of writing whatever they like. That was soon put a stop to, and they did also share what they needed to. Okay, so we could then scroll through on the board the things that they were not doing so well and needed to improve, and then we spent the rest of the lesson working on those things. Okay, so that's an example of one where I've left the question quite open for students' responses. Another one which I've used with teachers is what quality would you rate most highly in a teacher? This was just a fun one to show how Poll Everywhere works, and with this one you can see the different responses that have come through so far, and this is what it would look like if you set responses for students or others to choose from. Okay, they would then text in a number and it gives them an indication then of kind of what everyone's thinking about a question. If this is something that you don't want your students to copy from one another, because obviously the response is very immediate in class, and if students' responses start coming through, for instance, for creativity, you might not want others in the class to be influenced by that. So just hide the screen and then show the results when everyone has voted. Okay. So I'm going to show you how to create one, and then I'll show you how it works for the students when they're using it. You click on create poll over on the left hand side. It's really straightforward, so it just asks you for a poll question, and I'll just go with the suggestion there. So what's your favourite colour? Now if I wanted to leave that quite open to students' responses, then I could leave it as open-ended, and these parts here is basically so that you can select how your responses look on screen when the students respond. So cluster is quite nice because it appears as I kind of showed you before. You could have multiple choice. Okay, so your audience can select from these answers. So I could have blue, green, and if I want to add a third answer, then I can have red. So they're just picking from those three answers. What you can also do is clickable image. So I could upload an image of something blue, green, or red, and they can just click on there to identify. Okay, so I'm going to put it as multiple choice for now. I could add in another poll if I wanted, or just click on create here. And it's that simple. The poll is now live. Okay, so at the top here it's got the instructions for the students. So they would text in one of these codes depending on what their answer is. So if the student had picked blue, then they would type in 26783 and they'd send it to this number here. Okay. So they'd send in their response, and as the responses came through, it would filter through to say how many people had voted for a particular answer. Okay. Now what they can also do is send tweets to Twitter as well, but I find that text message works best. All the students have got a phone, they're quite familiar with texting, so they find it really easy. One other thing that you can do is use in a presentation. So you can actually download the poll slide for a presentation, and it will update live. So if you've got a presentation and you don't want to come out of it to do the poll, that works quite well if you're able to download the slide. You can stop the poll at any time. You can also edit. You could copy if you want a similar poll and you just want to change some of the responses. But I'm just going to leave the poll open for now. If I go back to my polls, anytime I log in the classroom, once I've created it, I can see it here, what's your favourite colour, and I can go in and just reopen that poll. Okay, so it's really that straightforward. I'll just show you one how to do the open-ended answers. So what's your favourite colour? And if I leave it open-ended, we'll have it as a cluster. Click create. So this one will appear live now. Again, I can use it in the presentation if I want, and I can stop it at any time. So here, they're getting you to text in a number and your message. So they would type in their number plus whichever their favourite colour was, and they'd send it to this number here. Okay, so create a login for the site. You can create your polls over on the left-hand side. Once they're created, you can stop and edit them and copy them. You can put them in a presentation if you wish. And if you click on My Polls over on the left-hand side, that's where all of your polls are created and stored, and you can go in them at any time. You can stop them from this front page. You can delete them if you wish, if you end up getting quite a lot of these generated. So these polls can work well in the middle of a lesson if you're just wanting to check learning that you've just covered. It could be at the start of the lesson to recap previous learning, and it could be at the end of a lesson to recap learning during the lesson. Keep them quite open-ended if you want some kind of reflection from students about how they've got on, or keep it multiple choice if you're wanting to kind of check factual details. Okay, so that is Poll Everywhere. Good luck.